I was a young 20-year-old when I found out that my girlfriend was pregnant. Actually, we'd gone into, I didn't even know where we went. I saw a sign in the yellow pages and just saw the word free pregnancy test. And I'm like, well, that sounds good. So we went in, had no idea that this was a place that facilitated abortions, but found out that she in fact was pregnant, and in the shock, the disbelief. And I say this very carefully because in fairness, I'm not sure if my parents would necessarily agree that they said this overtly, but I remembered my parents saying that, hey, if you ever get a girl pregnant, your dad would probably have to leave his ministry. And so again, that was the message I heard. And that was such a fear of mine in that moment of going, what have I done? Not only have I, messed up our lives, now my dad's gonna have to leave the ministry. And he had a very, very public, very successful marriage ministry. His name's Gary Smalley. And so just all of that within those moments of finding this out, to have then someone walk in and go, and by the way, we can take care of this right now and no one will know and it can be done. For me, that's part of the tragedy, is that, in that moment when we felt so alone and felt so scared and felt so much fear, to not have a moment to step back and gain perspective and have someone go, this is going to be okay. I can remember sitting in the waiting room. There's a fish aquarium, and then there was music being piped in. I can't tell you the name of the songs, but if they come on and I hear them on the radio now, I will have a sick reaction. My stomach literally churns when people say that this, it's just tissue. It's not a big deal. Especially as the guy. It's not my body that's going through this. It's such a lie. This is 30 years ago for me, and it still hurts, and I still remember it like it was yesterday. It took me to such a dark place. I felt so ashamed. I felt like the biggest coward. I felt so failed as a young 20-year-old Christian male who had dreamed about going into ministry. All that, literally in that moment for me, I believed that was done and over. Like that I had committed the unpardonable sin. Thus I couldn't go into ministry, so I chose another career simply because of that. I was so convinced of that, and I couldn't tell anybody. So I didn't have my dad. I didn't have, a mentor. I didn't have anybody, a pastor, talking to me saying, "This is okay. God loves you. He forgave you instantly. Let's get through this. Let's go get help. Let's get into counseling." I had none of that. So it became a dark secret that I stuffed and buried deep within my heart, that I had to kind of quarantine off and learn to live with it. I remember it got so bad that I thought this would just be easier to take my own life. And that was the sad part, is I was alone. Years after that, met my wife, and her birth mom was literally, as I've heard the story, almost like on her way to abort my wife, and a friend's mom intervened and said no, and I know you're getting kicked out of your house, you're gonna come live with us. And so that was my wife. And so as you can imagine, she was super passionate about pro-life, and she would go to rallies, and as we began to date, she would talk about this, and she would say things like, I just can't believe someone would abort, and especially Christians. And I would just, I'm sure my eyes would gloss over, and I would just be sick going, man, I really like this girl, but I don't think that she could ever forgive me. I'd never forget that conversation, and just to share with her, going, you know how you've talked about, when people who've done that and you just don't understand, you couldn't forgive them. I said, man, that's my story. I learned how to keep the secret for so long that I got really good at keeping secrets. Got really good at just carving that part of me out and just going, I don't even know who that person was. That's not who I am. God was so faithfully pursuing me. 20 years ago, driving in the car, flipping through stations, hearing a Focus broadcast where they had a woman on talking about her abortion. And so the word abortion, caught me. I was by myself, so I just was listening. And she talked about how she had spent some time praying, and she had believed that God had revealed the sex of this baby that she had aborted. And I was like, wait, what? Wait, is that possible? Wait, there's no way. And went home, told Aaron, and Aaron was like, oh, I love that. Let's start praying. And really spent a season of just faithful prayer, going, God, I'd love to know if this was a little boy or girl. And we'll never forget, waking up in the middle of the night with just this most vivid dream of seeing a little boy on the lap of Jesus. That was the image that I had. I really believe that was my son, and that was so healing, because part of the journey for me was that he had to become real. That was always a secret, something I was so ashamed of, and really through that experience, I gave him my name, and had Aaron and I just together had a memorial, and it was so healing that finally he wasn't, in the dark and hidden away, that he was real, he was a real part of me. But it's taken a lot of work. It's been such a hard road. I'm not a journaler, but apparently I am around this. It's given my son life. He's real. He exists here in these pages for me. The good news is God is who he says he is, and he sent his son to heal the brokenhearted, and that's been so true in my own life. Someday I'll get to spend eternity with my son. There's probably someone watching this right now, and you're thinking and maybe considering this and trying to figure out what do we do here. And I would just say, I don't care what anybody tells you, this will be with you for the rest of your life, this choice. And man, I pray for you, and so hope that you can find the strength and the courage to make a very different choice, one that I would give anything to be able to go back and make that choice again.